Bela Lugosi Meets a Brooklyn Gorilla is one of those very interesting and peculiar films that I've heard about, and I really wanted to check it out. Maybe it has a reputation of being a bad movie, but I just think it's a silly movie, to be honest. And I borrowed this copy from the library, and I watched it. It's not Citizen Kane, but as far as just silly, enjoyable comedies go, this one's fine. Now, going into this film, I'm looking at the cover and thinking, Bela Lugosi meets a Brooklyn gorilla. What's that all about? Okay, Bela Lugosi, does he play himself? What's the significance of him meeting a gorilla? Why from Brooklyn? Why not an Albuquerque gorilla? But whatever. Believe it or not, as you watch this silly film, eventually it all makes sense, as indeed Bela Lugosi is in the film. He's playing a mad scientist, and he does have an encounter with a Brooklyn gorilla. Go figure. Also starring in this film are the actors Duke Mitchell and Sammy Petrillo. Two actors I've never heard of before, but who are basically just doing the same gimmick as Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis. In fact, that actor Sammy Petrillo is almost a spot-on duplicate of Jerry Lewis with the silly faces, the gestures, the noises, and everything. I think he was actually sued at one point by Jerry Lewis, and understandably, he's very similar. So the story is basically the two of these guys wind up on a desert island and have an encounter with not only Bela Lugosi, but a Brooklyn gorilla.
Look, Father. I think one of them is named Mervyn.
Mervyn?
Mervyn?
Who said that?
Which one of you is Mervyn?
Oh, lady, you got us mixed up with two other guys.
So the film opens up, we're in the jungle, the narrator is telling us about the wild animals there, and then the camera pans and we see two guys laying on the ground. They're in suits, they've got beards and bushy hair and stuff. Some generic natives show up and carry them away and change their clothes into more casual tropical attire. They give them a shave. And once they come to, we get to meet Duke Mitchell and Sammy Petrillo, presumably just playing themselves. And get to just see that they're basically just a comedy duo, and here they are on this island with these natives. And they're sitting around watching natives dance. There's some silly gags as Sammy eats a banana and chats with the chief. And then out of nowhere, Duke breaks out into a musical number, and the natives apparently have a hidden horn section as well. And, that's the type of thing you expect in this film. It's just straight up silly. And, of course, Duke is also romancing the lovely native Nona. Next day, they go off to meet with the professor who lives in a creepy old castle on the tropical island. Yeah. And this is Dr. Zabor, who was played by Bela Lugosi. And both Duke and Sammy are convinced he might be Dracula. They never actually say his name, but, say that he is the guy that goes around biting people on the neck and, goofy stuff like that.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Zabor. Welcome to my crib joint.
Oh, gosh, I'm sorry, Mr. Idiot. I didn't mean to call you creep joint a creep joint.
Think nothing of it.
Doctor, I would like you to meet my friends.
Yes?
Hi, Doc. I'm Duke Mitchell. It's my partner, Sammy Petrillo. We were on our way to do a thing. Don't I know you from someplace?
I don't think so.
So while the guys go off to change their outfits, Dr. Zabor talks to Nona in the lab, who is now hard at work doing chemistry stuff. So initially she was just a native, but we find out eventually that she was actually a college graduate who studied in the States, and she is here working with Dr. Zabor on his experimentation. Yeah. And he, I guess, is in love with her and professes his love for her, which is a little weird and kind of icky, and she doesn't seem all that interested in him. So Duke walks Nona home that night while Sammy goes to sleep. But of course, there's got to be some silliness, so one of the monkeys has escaped. This is Ramona the chimp, has broken out of the lab and tries to sleep next to Sammy. It's just hilarity ensues. And the next day there's a feast at the camp with Dr. Zabor and everyone. And Duke and Nora, again, they go off together so he can sing to her privately. and they kiss and talk about marriage, but Dr. Zabor finds out about this, and he's most displeased, and he heads back to his lab to concoct something. He has a servant capture Duke so that they can bring him back to the lab, inject him with a drug that turns him into a massive gorilla. So I guess this is where the Brooklyn gorilla part of the film comes into play. So I guess it makes sense. So sure enough, Duke is a giant gorilla, and the doctor leaves him in his cage and walks off. He's got this evil grin, and he's telling everybody else that this was actually Ramona the chimp that he'd done this experiment on to turn it into a gorilla. Sammy shows up in time to see the gorilla in the cage, and he's like gesturing to him, and through a goofy sequence of charades and even the gorilla briefly singing a song, Sammy figures out that this is his friend Duke. But what can he do? Well, I'll let you check out the end of this film, and it's just even more silliness, including an unbelievable eye roll as you get to the end of the film to see how it all resolves. I'll let you check it out for yourself.
Look, don't worry. We can get a nice apartment near the Bronx Zoo, and you can go over to the monkey house and visit any time you want.
So that was my review of Bela Lugosi Meets a Brooklyn Gorilla. Yeah, it's a fun, goofy film. Again, it's not a cinematic masterpiece by any sense of the imagination, but it's a lot of fun. And look, here's the thing about Bela Lugosi. I think he's fantastic. He's Dracula, he's a mad scientist, and no matter how cheesy the film might be, how bad the premise might be, he still always seems to try his best. He's a very believable actor. I wouldn't say I feel sorry for him, but I buy into whatever he's doing. As ridiculous as it might be, growing a giant mutant bat in a laboratory, for instance, hey, I'll buy it because he just seems to put his heart into everything he does. I really like Bela Lugosi. There's just something about the character that's likable. And the two actors that also starred in this film, again, the Duke Mitchell and Sammy Petrillo, they kind of do a fun job with the Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis routine, the singing, the dancing, the comedy bits. It's all goofy fun. I like this film, and, don't overanalyze it. I know I keep saying that. It's not a classic. It's just a good cheesy film just to have a couple laughs from. A couple other notes about this film, too. It also features that Ramona the chimp, who was also in some Tarzan movies, I think, playing Cheetah. And from what I read, this film was made on a $12,000 budget and was filmed in the space of 6 days. And that should really tell you something about the quality. But even with a limited budget and a limited time frame, it's still a cute film. And that's about all I can say about this one. If you can find it online, great. I believe it's in the public domain, so you can find it anywhere. Or get it from your local public library. Just be aware, $1 a day late fees. So that's my review of Bela Lugosi Meets the Brooklyn Gorilla. Silly film. It's worth checking out.
Dookie, please. Tell me it's you, will you, Duke? Oh, come on, sing. Dance, do something, will you?
Do I love you? Oh my, do I, baby?
I give out!